Hi, Deanna. How are you?
Hi.
So good to see you.
Crazy, crazy times
Where are you?
at home. I better be at home in the Seattle area, one of the epicenters.
You're always traveling around, so you could have gotten stuck somewhere. I was almost stuck in India.
I know. Actually, I had thought about you actually when I was looking at your Instagram post, and I was thinking, uh-oh, he's going to be stuck in India. But maybe that's not a bad thing. India has a low incidence of COVID-19, so.
Yeah, yeah. And I was dying to talk to you and find out a little bit about your thoughts and how you're taking this.
Yeah, well, I initially I wasn't quite sure what to make of it. And then as things progressed, I realized that this is pretty serious. All of my travel has been canceled for the next 3 months. And I think when times like this happen, when we're constrained and we start focusing on our survival, to me, that feels like, gosh, there must be something deeper here for all of us. So in fact, I picked a card today on our dining room table. I have this deck of cards, and the card that I picked, at least for me today, was new vision. I feel like this is so important for all of us to have this sense of new vision, a new vision for our planet, for ourselves, our lives, our earth, how we move about in the world. I just feel like I'm appreciating so much more.
Yeah, definitely a big opportunity to put things into perspective. I've been trying to sound the alarm for the last 15 years about the toxicity of our planet. And everybody was talking about global warming. And I said, well, the global warming is just a fever. Where is it actually really coming from? And in my eyes, it's a lot of the other inconvenient truth, the toxicity of our planet, the air we breathe, the water we drink and shower with, the medications we use, the cosmetics we use, the laundry detergents and everything else we clean our homes with. But mostly the foods that we eat are loaded with chemicals that alone or in combination end up causing some kind of disruption that later on, it activates the, the immune system, inflammation, and then 10 years later it's cancer, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's so true. One of the silver linings of all of this happening is the fact that the earth is in a cleansing process. We see that air pollution is reduced in China. We see that the dolphins have come back to the waters in Italy, and people are at home. I just walk outside. I live in a small forest, and I walk outside and I just feel like the birds are happier. Like, to me, it feels like nature has been waiting for this moment. I do have some concerns about how we're taking care of ourselves, however. When I go to the grocery store and I see that a lot of the processed foods are being depleted from the shelves, and not a lot of the produce and the fresh foods, the foods that we know are helpful and healing for the immune system, I get concerned. I was also thinking about hand disinfectant and sanitizer and all of the endocrine disruptors and those things as well. I mean, for me personally, I just stick to the basics: soap, water. I stick to good whole foods, make sure I'm taking my supplements. Even on my dining room table, I've got my vitamin D, I've got my turmeric. There are just some things. It's like, this is really putting us back into shape in terms of really reflecting on everything. I just hope that we can educate and people can really wake up to what you're speaking to, which is the toxic burden on this planet.
I in my mind, I even go further. There's this Eastern view that the Gaia view that the planet Earth is an animal itself, right? And the rivers are its arteries, and the forest its lungs, and there's tissues that are fixed, plants, and then there's other cells that are moving, animals and humans. And humans are at this moment a diseased kind of cell. So maybe this virus infection or is the immune system of the planet trying to get rid of a diseased cell or tissue, which is the humans, right?
I
Um,
like that. I like how so many people are being very creative about their perspectives. I mean, to me, the virus is neutral. It's not like it's an invader. I don't feel victim to a virus. I feel like it's a teacher. There's something healing and teaching and something for us to wake up to. So yeah, I like your idea of Gaia, and that we're all an organism, we're all cells, and we're all turning over, just like cells in an organism in a body. And yeah, how can we make for the best organism ever? And I think that after all of this changes and we go back to living a somewhat regular life, I don't think I think we're going to be radically changed. It's almost like if every 7 years cells turn over in the body, I feel like we're at that level of becoming a new organism.
Yeah, yeah. And at the yoga festival, Michael Beckwith and Bruce Lipton and the gurus there were talking about the butterfly, how before it's a butterfly, it's a kind of a worm, and then it goes into a cocoon, and there's complete destruction, right? But something higher emerges, more beautiful, more, something that flies. So
I feel like if we don't choose to see it like that, we're just going to be stressed, right? There's so much panic. So one of my spiritual teachers always says, go up, ratchet up and look down. What is happening? What do you see as the lesson?
Yeah. Another analogy that I like is, which is, I've been talking about it for a long time, is that if imagine in your house right now, as from today, you don't take the garbage out. You leave all the garbage in piles around the house, right? And then a week from now, there's going to be cockroaches and ants and rats, right? And with them come other viruses and bacteria, and so and in a way, that's what we're doing to the planet and to our bodies, right? Because as above, so below. And now that we are forced to stop somewhat what we're doing to the planet, because the cars are not, going around, and the planes are not flying, and the boats are not sailing, and the dolphins are coming out to play.
Exactly. You and I both like ancient traditions, and one of the ones that I like is the chakra system. And if we see the coronavirus through the chakras, it's almost like we can look at every stage of how we might be perceiving it, right? Like the root chakra, it's our survival. It's just what you described. It's our home environment. It's how we're taking care of ourselves as an individual and our community. And then there's the sacral chakra, right? It's the emotions, the water element within all of us, and how that's as toxic as the air. And I do think that this is bringing up a lot of emotions for people to process in ways that they haven't quite seen their emotions surfacing before. So I think that's very healthy. The solar plexus chakra, I think of the fire that burns within us, our work in our world, and how so many people are stressed about work. They're stressed about their income, their finances. The heart chakra, I feel like people are really being called to serve others in unique ways. Now you see people like, I don't know where I saw, but like a fashion designer now creating masks and using his talent and putting his heart and service and dedication into something like that to give back. The throat chakra, I think about the truth. What is the truth here? Because so many people feel like, I don't know who I can trust. So what is the truth? What's being said? Is there an illusion? Which then brings us up into the third eye chakra, which is all about deciphering illusion from reality. And where is our consciousness in all of this? How do we create a new reality? And then the crown chakra, which is where I've been lately as it relates to this whole COVID-19, is what's the greater meaning and lesson? If we were not in body and we were to look at all of this, what would the spiritual aspect of all of this be? So I feel like all of us, depending on where we're at with our own 7 systems, that might determine how we perceive and how we react to all of this. It's just another way to look into the situation.
I love talking to you because sometimes I see that with my ideas I can be a little bit esoteric, but then when I talk to you, I know the strong scientific background, and you can recite studies from here and there by memory, but you also have that other aspect that that I think is so important. Um, and what, you know, a lot of the questions that I've been asked these days is, what do I do myself to improve my chances of either getting a very mild manifestation of infection, because it is very possible that many of us are going to be infected, just like we're infected with the flu and the cold and hepatitis and other viruses, right? This one happens to infect a lot of people. So, but what are the chances? How do we increase our chances of our immune system being ready enough? And when I answer, I say, you know, that a lot can be done with food, and not only you are, because when you're doing something to strengthen your immune system, also you strengthen your detoxification system, and you balance your hormones, and so it all really goes together. That's the power of magic, that medications go towards one, you know, one subsection of a function, but food, they affect everything, right? And the one thing, and you're always on my mind, because the one thing that I repeat all the time is eat the rainbow, right?
Yeah.
And so I wanted to ask you, how you explain eating the rainbow and its benefits in times like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think people are really confused about what they can eat and what they should be eating, and not many people are very familiar with the immune system. So within the rainbow, I think of that there's a color code. So with red colored foods like raspberries and pomegranate and beets, a lot of these red pigments, what they're doing is they're actually very helpful for the immune system. They help to quell inflammation. So the colors of the rainbow are great because they're protective. They help to fortify the body's defenses. And that's what I think of when I think of red foods. Like this morning, I had strawberries. I don't normally have strawberries, but I was thinking I need to pull in more red foods. I also bought some beets this past weekend. Beets and beet greens are so important for opening up the vasculature, right? They contain a lot of dietary nitrates, so they're opening the heart. That's what we need right now. Then there's orange foods. In fact, I was just at the grocery store this weekend to pick up a couple things, and I got like sweet potatoes and yams. And many of these orange colored foods are rich in carotenoids, and carotenoids are the fat soluble antioxidants. So in as much as we need the water soluble antioxidants from red foods, we also need the fat soluble ones from orange. So making sure that we get some orange foods. I have some orange lentils. You know, I've noticed for myself, I'm going even more plant-based during these times of survival, because that's what seems to last. You know, I think about all of my dry bean stores and my legumes, which brings me to yellow foods. If I think of lentils, I think of garbanzo beans. I think of, I just bought bananas, lemons during this time, you know, just squeezing lemons into water, just helping with, again, more of the gut. When I think of the code for yellow, it's digestion. It's the fire element. And then green, you know, nature gives us a lot of green foods, and these green foods like leafy greens and cruciferous vegetables. In fact, there's some excellent studies looking at a broccoli sprout beverage to help with air pollution, to help with air particulates. And so bringing in some more of these greens, our whole refrigerator is filled with greens. We need to grow greens. They grow well in many different areas. And fortunately, I live in an area where we grow a lot of cruciferous vegetables, which is also really good for detox. And then I think of blue purple. We cannot forget blue purple during this time. Blue purple foods are precious, they're rare, and they're full of anthocyanins. Anthocyanins are important for the brain. And during this time, we need a mood effect of food. It's not just keeping our immune system healthy, it's keeping our brain wired and healthy in ways that promote a healthy mood. And what the science shows is that blue purple foods even something like Concord grape juice, blueberries. Blueberries freeze really, really well. Blackberries. These foods can be protective for the brain and can help modulate mood. I also sneak into the rainbow brown. If we look at brown foods, and mostly people get too much in the way of unhealthy brown foods, but one of my favorite brown foods is cacao. And I have a raw cacao powder that I use. It's organic. Take about a tablespoon in hot water. And cacao is really rich in flavonoids, which are brain protective. So some of these brown foods can help the brain as well. And they can help us with mood. And I think right now, more than anything, you know, I was just interviewed by the Washington Post last week to talk about stress eating. And right now, even more than thinking of our immune system, if we can keep our mind not stressed, our immune system will work better. And what we need right now is to stay in a good mood, and eating good, healthy foods. There's science to suggest that we help our sense of well-being. We help our sense of, it can even make us more creative and curious. Like, this is the time we need to get creative and curious. We need to spend that time like journaling. Tonight, I'm going to do some art. My outlet for stress is artwork. So I like to paint big, organic, colorful shapes. And so we all need an outlet, whether it's being in nature and walking, or my husband's a musician and he's also an acupuncturist. And so for him, he's been playing music, which can be good. So we have to find our outlet. And so food can give us a template. It's like a canvas. If we are like a template, we are like a canvas, all of those colors coming onto our canvas can make for a more colorful life. It's not just me saying it. I mean, there's copious science. And I would hope that more scientists do see the artistic aspects, the holistic aspects, because the more that you look for truth, whether it's through the confines of a study, you start looking for truth in patterns. And just like Bruce Lipton and others of your teachers would suggest, we need to be thinking within the box and outside of the box when it comes to food, mood, and immunity.
Now, within the box, I've heard you many times talk about the beneficial effect of a rainbow diet, the more variability of vegetables and the more variability in color in the health of your microbiome, of your intestinal flora. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Oh, that's a big concept. So there are three concepts that I like for everybody to reflect on: color, creativity, and you're keying into the third one, which is variety. I gave a whole 90-minute talk last year to the Nutritional Therapy Association in the UK, talking about the importance of dietary variety. Why is it important to rotate foods like every 3 to 4 days? There's a great paper out there challenging people. It's by Miguel Toribio Mateas. He's a nutritionist researcher in the UK, and he talks about getting 50 unique plant-based foods in 7 days. And what the literature shows us is that our gut microbiome likes diversity. We need dietary diversity for the gut microbiome. I mean, that's what the microbiome is doing. It's chewing up all these different plant compounds like polyphenols in order to give us secondary metabolites to make for a better milieu inside our GI tract. So the more diverse we can allow for that medium, the more resilient we are. There's also literature to suggest that we reduced allergic disease in children when they are fed more variable foods. And so every 3 to 4 days, be looking at what you're taking in, making sure that, you know, when I go to the store, like as an example, I'll buy not a bag of apples. I'll buy 5 apples from different varieties, because I know that each of those apples has different phytochemicals. Even though it's an apple, it's still incredibly variable. So it's so important to make sure that we get variety. And so many of us are in food ruts. We eat the same thing every day. I can't tell you how many people say, "Oh, Deanna, I've had oatmeal every day of my life for 70 years. And I said, well, that's not necessarily such a great thing. I mean, we have gotten into a groove, but that doesn't serve our gut microbiome. Our gut microbiome likes variety, diversity. And then some people say, well, maybe it's just more fruits and veggies. Well, not really. There was a study that showed that for women consuming the same amount of fruits and veggies, one group had more diversity and the other one had less, that the group that had more fared better in terms of reducing oxidative stress in the body. It's the diversity. I mean, we as people, we need diverse experiences. That keeps our neurons firing and neuronal plasticity. So yeah, I'm big into diversity. I like, spices, making sure that we're changing up our spices. Don't buy the same milk, alternates every day, buy different fruits and vegetables, just different things like that.
I mean, you just opened my mind so much, because I always buy the same avocados, and I see that there's 3 or 4 different ones where I buy them. So I'm going to start buying, and also the same apples. And I'm guilty of that. So I'm going to start buying a variety.
I'm not loyal to any store nor any supplement, because I think that even when it comes to different supplement preparations, we need to vary and make sure, that we have
and rotate your supplements. And since you mentioned supplements, what are your 5 top list of supplements in general, right?
In general, well, I'm going to show you my supplement. I'm actually going to walk over to where they are.
in general, for the pandemic.
Oh, okay, specific for the pandemic. Okay, first and foremost, you have to have vitamin C. Vitamin C, to me, I know that a lot of people are doing intravenous vitamin C. They're trying to get vitamin C in many different ways. I just take a buffered vitamin C. I have a couple of different kinds. The only thing that I think about with vitamin C is making sure that you get bioflavonoids together with the vitamin C so that it works as a team. So definitely vitamin C. Another one that I take is, and you have to be conscientious about this one, it's vitamin D. And there's some controversy right now about who should be taking vitamin D. And there's some debate about, what about, does it lead to viral replication and, greater entry of viruses into the cells? I think in general, there's a preponderance of data on vitamin D, just really showing that people who have autoimmune disease, they tend to be deficient in vitamin D. So, and I live in the Pacific Northwest. We don't get a lot of sun here. We barely have any sun today. And look where one of the epicenters is, here. So I think there's a huge issue with vitamin D, and we have to optimize our vitamin D that we're taking in, making sure that we take it in with a meal.
Do you measure it in your blood to see if you're doing the right thing?
Correct. Yeah. I usually recommend that people get their blood values of vitamin D in March and in September, because then that's at the end of winter for those of us who live in the Northern Hemisphere. So that would be your lowest. And then in September, right after summer, which would be your highest.
Yeah. So, and the other way around in the Southern Hemisphere.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you tailor the amount of vitamin D. And I see, one thing that most people aren't talking about is genes. So I have a gene variant for vitamin D receptor, which means that my body doesn't key into vitamin D like it normally should. So I need more.
What genetic testing did you use to find that out?
Several. I like to play with many different labs. And so I've done a number of, I've had my whole genome sequenced through Illumina. I've had my genes done through Genova Diagnostics. I've done them through 23andMe. So I've done a lot of different gene tests.
Okay. Well,
and there are several. Yeah.
Continue with your supplements. I don't want to distract you.
Well, I'll just say one more thing with vitamin D. Make sure that you take vitamin D with magnesium and calcium and vitamin K. Like, there is this, vitamins and minerals, they work as a team. So I do take magnesium. I have several forms of magnesium. I won't hold them up because I have too many. I have like a magnesium glycinate. I have a mag threonate. I have a mag citrate. And I even have, something that I like to bring into my water, powder, to make sure, I think about that. Like, if I got sick with the coronavirus, with COVID-19, and I did get COVID-19, I want some kind of electrolyte replenishing, right? So I do think about magnesium and how important that is. I do personally take a multivitamin, and I take one that I help to formulate. because I know it's got plant-based compounds in it. And so I want the plant extracts in conjunction with vitamins and minerals. Walking over to my refrigerator here, I also do take an omega-3 supplement for sure. My whole PhD dissertation was on essential fatty acids, and I know how important essential fatty acids are for the brain. And I get my fatty acids measured. You can do that through the omega-3 index test. You want to be able to, because people always ask like, okay, when can I stop my supplementation? And I say, well, did you get your levels measured? Because even when people are supplementing, sometimes their bodies are using that omega-3 and they're actually moving through it faster. They're metabolizing it. So they actually need more. So I do take omega-3. The last one I would say, Alejandro, is, well, actually not, I mean, look at my counter and cabinet. I have a lot going on here. It's like a pharmacy, but I'm just picking out certain ones. I mean, I am a big believer in zinc. I mean, not just believing. I mean, there's good science on zinc, right? So you don't want to take zinc on an empty stomach. Most people are deficient in zinc. And did you see the article that's going around about taste being impacted for people with COVID-19? That could be one of the first signs. No. And that might be because of low zinc. We don't know. And I've just looked a little bit at that. So I do take zinc every day. Zinc helps with wound healing. It helps with the immune response. It helps with gut healing.
Yeah.
And then lastly, I take a bunch of different things, but I do it in rotation, much like I do my food. When you were asking me about diversity and variety, I try to rotate so that my body doesn't get used to any one thing. I want it to see it fresh so that my body stays resilient. The other thing I do like is turmeric. And the one that I take several different kinds. The one that I just finished up is one by Furthered Food. I really, for some reason, I noticed a difference in how I felt when I took this. And it has...
I'm going to send you the fermented turmeric that we came up with from organic India farms, biodynamic, regenerative farming, incredible turmeric.
I love that.
I'm going to send you some fermented one that we have.
That'd be fantastic. Yeah. I mean, I noticed a difference with turmeric for sure. And so there are many different ways to take it.
Part of our conversation, I had to multitask, which means I had to pay attention to you, but I was also looking at your house. I love it.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I live in lots of wood in this house. It's an A-frame. So it was built by hand by this man, and we're in a forest. So we live in a cedar forest.
I see. So I see the trees behind you. Yes, so nice.
Well, thank you. And
your cats are doing well?
Yeah, I'm sure you heard them. Yeah, they're doing well. And I feel like the animals know that something's up. It's not normal for the humans to be home all day. Something is awry.
Have you noticed anything in your cats?
I just noticed they're a little bit more on edge. Maybe it's because it's spring, and so, they want to go outside. Their temperament is changing. We just transitioned over. So, yeah, but, things are stressy because my husband's parents are 93 years old. And my mother-in-law is currently in the hospital. She had a heart attack the other day. And so now my husband, really trying to reflect, and she lives in Florida. We live in Seattle. So this is a tough situation. I keep thinking about all the people that have all of their other health conditions in conjunction with thinking about COVID-19. This is not an easy time. I mean, we still have our daily struggles in combination with thinking about this virus. So
talk about bad timing to have a heart attack, right?
I know, it's terrible.
Poor thing.
So we're all
I'm going to let you carry on with your day, but just to finish, I want to say this. I was talking to a friend of mine from childhood in Uruguay, and he was asking me in Spanish, for some advice for people in Uruguay. And then I told him about my thoughts on how this is benefiting the planet. And he said, you know what? This morning I went to run on the beach, and I saw fish like I've never seen in the last 40 years. So there is something globally happening.
There is, for sure. And I'm looking forward to that shift. And, you know, we all need to do our part now if we can. I mean, this is when we have downtime. Like, I was outside yesterday picking up garbage. Like, how can we do our part to facilitate and accelerate the healing of the planet? And so it's great that your friend is observing that.
Yeah.
So we all work for the earth. She's watching how we're showing up.
Yeah.
So if we're not showing up, we're just going to get ourselves back into another conundrum. We need to really affect change.
Well, thank you so much. And it's so good talking to you.
Yeah, likewise. Good to connect. Thanks, Alejandro.